Hi guys, it's Maureen here. It's Tuesday and I'm doing live at 5 on Tuesday. Yeah, normally if you follow my videos, if you follow my Facebook page or my YouTube page, or if you follow me at all, you'll know live at 5 is something I usually do every Monday, 5 p.m. on my Facebook page, and then the video then goes on to YouTube. Now, as many of you will know, as last week, remember, I came in and talked about a subject which isn't very often talked about. I talked about death and grieving last week and came from a very raw, very vulnerable place last week and shared some really sad news about us losing our gorgeous golden retriever. Now, tonight is a bit like one of those talks as well. Last week I really felt I wanted to talk about death and grieving because nobody does it. It's not talked about enough. And this week I've actually been asked to talk about loneliness. I've been asked via somebody that saw my Live at 5 video on YouTube. For if you don't know and you ever miss one of my Live at 5s, you will find them on my Facebook page because they stay there. But they also get uploaded onto YouTube and they'll all be in one place there. And if you subscribe to my channel on YouTube, then you're always got them and you're always told when they're there. So I was actually asked via somebody who saw my Live at 5s on YouTube to talk about loneliness tonight. And again, I kind of felt it was one of those topics that not enough people speak about, that not enough people admit to as well. And I'm just seeing some hearts coming up, so I actually know I've got company, which is a great sign because that means you are hearing me and you are seeing me. And I can see that Mary's here and Naomi's here, so welcome just now. That's absolutely brilliant. I say, please feel free. I think there should be somewhere under this video, perhaps a share button. Invite your friends, invite anybody that you think me talking about loneliness might be helpful. And again, I really want you tonight to feel free to put comments in, put questions in, put comments, give your own thoughts on loneliness, give us tips, let's share and see if we can really help each other out on this one. So if you're watching live, thank you for coming in. And if it's a replay, again, thank you for being here. If you are new, then my name is Maureen Sharphouse. I am a life coach and I am a mentor, a life mentor and a life coach, and also an NLP master practitioner, trained in hypnosis, trained in quite a lot of different fields of personal development. Practice mindfulness, practice meditation. I'm very spiritually orientated as well as very much into mindset and motivation. So this is really about helping you be the real you in the real world with the real life challenges. And as you know, loneliness, I think, is something that hits every single one of us at some point in our life. Now, I've had that firsthand this week because for those of you that do know me, you'll know with Amber, unfortunately, our golden retriever, really unexpectedly and not great circumstances, a week past Friday, having to be put to sleep. We have thrown pure Floyd. I mean, Peter and I are absolutely devastated. And there is such a big hole, there's such a big, everybody that was touched by Amber knew what a loving presence she was. And I have been absolutely overwhelmed by messages, by gifts, by cards, by, and even a lot of my Facebook friends here that I've never met in person have sent the most unbelievable messages to me and even sent cards and things through. Now, for me and my husband, we understand what's happened. But Floyd, our Gordon setter, Amber's best friend, partner in crime, and his life partner, really, because Floyd came as a tiny puppy and he's now 5 and has had Amber always with him. He has actually been a really, really lonely boy. So when I was asked to speak about loneliness tonight, it just seemed a good topic to go there. Because I think I'm in the throes of that just now of albeit Floyd is not of the human variety, but believe you me, has a soul and spirit just the same, just the same. And he is very lonely boy just now and very confused and still looking for Amber. And then I also really, when I thought about loneliness, thought, do you know, I know what loneliness feels like. I have been there at various points in my life. And yet now I absolutely adore the time on my own. I absolutely adore being on my own. And there's that wonderful saying that when you love the person you're alone with, you never feel lonely ever again. And I think that really has been my own experience of that, because it took a real, for me, and I'm going to share with you tonight, actually, I'm going to share, you know, when I come in these Live at Fives, I never really have anything pre-planned. I mean, I'm very much somebody who likes to just go in the moment, dance in the moment, share what I feel called to share. And but yeah, I think I'm going to share with you tonight. I can actually just see there's about 3 instances in my life where I can really honestly say that loneliness played a big part and was highlighted. But if I can turn that around to this amazing place where actually, you know, I never feel lonely, and actually I adore being on my own, then, you know, you can too. So I'm just going to put my glasses on just for a second. I'm going to grab a tissue actually as well, because I can feel I've got a little bit of a cold, so bear with me 1 second. Right, sorry about that. I should have been a bit more organised before I came on the call, but as we're now a day late, and I usually do it on a Monday and it's a Tuesday, I had to juggle a little bit quickly to get organised. So let's just see who's here. And again, Mary, yeah, loneliness. Yeah, and a big part of your anxiety is loneliness. So that's, well, I see, let's, you know, we're going to talk about that, Mary. We're going to really talk about loneliness and see how that can help you tonight. And Mary, you're here. You've made it brilliant. That's great that Mary's here. And Naomi, that's really good you're here too. And again, we have Teresa and Rowan and Danai. So thank you for coming in live. So this really is for you if, yeah, if loneliness has played a part in your life at some point, if you just want to sort of think about this and create tips for this, listen to tips for this, or really just want to explore the topic with me and how we can feel more enriched by our own presence so that we never actually really feel lonely again. And I think, you know, the 2 things that I really want to differentiate first and foremost is there is a difference between feeling alone and feeling lonely. Now, sometimes they go hand in hand. Sometimes you can feel alone and you can feel lonely at the same time. And that can be quite a negative thing. That feeling of loneliness is quite a negative, draining energy. You know, it's not a positive, nourishing, feeding energy. A feeling of loneliness, you know, is a feeling. And can be really quite a dark feeling, and one that can be quite hard to shake off, because what happens is we fall in this cycle. You know, I'm a great believer that all of these emotions that we have, whether it's loneliness, whether it's peace, whether it's love, whether it's peace, whether it's confidence, whether it's passion, they're all doing words. You know, you have to do more of something or do something. So I think loneliness is, again, one of those ones. It's a bit of a doing word. Loneliness is the fruit of, you know, that verb, that noun, lonely, the lonely one or the alone one. But I think, you know, we need to just be careful, because there is a differentiation. We can feel alone even when we're surrounded by people. We can feel alone with it surrounded by people, but it not actually being hugely negative, as just being really aware that we're different. We're maybe not with like-minded people. We're not in an atmosphere that we feel part of, that we feel connected to. We can feel alone in a negative way also. You know, I can only imagine those poor boys that have just got out of the cave. I'm so thrilled to hear the Thai football team and their coach have been all safely released from the cave. But imagine how alone they as a group must have felt. So I think there is a difference between alone, and there is a difference between that real feeling of deep loneliness. And I think, you know, there is also that difference between when you're feeling alone, there are different reasons for that, I think. And I think, you know, it could be because you just feel not part of something. So you could feel surrounded by people, have a really busy lifestyle, but actually not feel part of it. I mean, I remember a real moment for me on a train, believe it or not, back in 96, 97 maybe. I was working in Edinburgh. At the time, I lived quite a stressful life. I had 2 jobs. I was in quite an unhappy marriage at that time, bringing up 2 teenage children, trying to be the breadwinner, pay bills, mortgages. I remember being on an absolutely busy commuter train to Edinburgh where I worked at that time. And I had never felt so alone. I actually was surrounded by noise, surrounded by busy chitter-chatter. And I sat there internally sobbing and just feeling so alone. And at that stage of my life, it wasn't that I didn't have people in my life. It wasn't, I had a very busy lifestyle. But I think for me, there was a bit of I felt I wasn't part of because I wasn't mixing with like-minded people. But also there was a massive part, I think I was not really truly connected to the real authentic me at that time. I kind of lost sight of who I was. I didn't know what made me tick. I didn't know what brought me joy. I didn't really know that real feeling of happiness and joy and peace and contentment. I kind of lost sight of that because I'd got caught up in a real treadmill life that felt at that time. And, and I really do remember that moment on that train of just feeling so alone. And did I feel lonely at that time as well? I'm not sure. So to me, there's the difference between alone and lonely. Because when I see what poor Floyd is going through this week, even though he is surrounded with us and surrounded with love, and we've had lots of visitors for him, he is obviously really missing his real connection, his real best friend, and it's very lonely and it's very evident. It is a feeling for him. So again, there's that real feeling. And I think, for ourselves, we can feel very alone when we just are not connected to our higher selves, not connected to that divine spark within us that animates us, that brings us to life, that lets us shine forth, that lets us enthusiastically live life. And when we are not connected to that divine spark in us, when we don't know who we truly are, we can go about life putting on a mask to the world, putting on that, I think we don't talk about feeling alone or feeling lonely. We kind of put a mask onto the world a lot of the time, just saying we're fine, just putting the smile on. We kind of surround ourselves sometimes by people, but, sometimes it's the wrong sort of things we do. We throw ourselves in perhaps doing things or surrounding ourselves by people, but we can still feel alone if they're not that the people who are on the same wavelength that we connect with. If we're not doing things that bring us joy and fire our passion, then we can still feel very alone. We can feel we're going through the motions of just doing what we need to do to get through a day. And I believe we all deserve better. I believe we all deserve more. I believe we all deserve to feel alive and to feel enthusiastic about living life, and to feel love and that love for ourselves as well, so that we don't feel alone in life. Now, I'm going to share, I think, a couple more things just from my own life, just so that I get it now before I start reading comments, and then I start really talking about loneliness, that feeling of loneliness, which is maybe a different thing from being alone. Or they can go in hand, but they don't always go hand in hand. Sometimes being alone is just a recognition of being alone. And it can be a really positive thing. There are days for me when I kind of really look forward to thinking, aha, it's got some time alone. I really want to be alone in my own space, in my own presence. But that really is because I actually love who I am, and I enjoy my own company and I enjoy my own presence. So I don't have any real cravings to have to, to feel lonely. So again, just want to share a couple more instances, then I'm going to read your comments, and then we're really going to talk about the feeling of loneliness and see how we can help. But I've shared with you the one on the train when, again, I was surrounded by busy commuters, and yet I sat there. I felt I was on the outside of life looking in. It looked like to me that everybody else was having fun in life and getting on with life, and I was just in this little bubble of not so great feelings, and just feeling that nobody got me, nobody understood me. And in all honesty, I'm not surprised now, because when I look back, I didn't share the real me. You know, I put this mask onto the world of I'm okay. You know, I was quite a businesswoman, quite a motivated businesswoman at the time, and quite ambitious. And, you know, I kind of threw myself into all that. But it was almost like to stop me really feeling and expressing who I truly was, for fear of judgment, fear of failure, all of those things that affect all of us at some point in our life. Another incident of feeling lonely, and I think, you know, I'm really just telling you because I want you to know it's okay. It is okay to go through these. Life throws us curveballs. Life isn't always a bed of roses, but it doesn't mean it's not precious. And whatever moment you are in right here, right now, it too will pass. You know, that's a wonderful thing about life. It kind of unfolds a moment at a time. You know, if you are at this point in your life now of feeling alone or feeling quite lonely, no, it doesn't need to always be like this. You know, loneliness is a doing word. If you want to do more lonely and keep doing lonely, you're going to keep feeling it. But we can change it. We can really interrupt, you know, the strategy and interrupt things and really start expanding. The more we restrict our world, the smaller our world becomes. And that is really, you know, one of the other ones I was going to share with you. When I was, now I'm going back maybe 2001, 2002. At that stage, I was very heavily disabled. I had carers come in to bath and feed me. I was quite seriously ill and lost my job. I was at home, and very stressful life, but also had really gone through a few years of discovering who my friends were or who they weren't. Because for any of you who may suffer from a chronic illness, or who may have suffered a bereavement, or who may have had one of life's curveballs thrown at you, you suddenly realize, you know, that people who you felt were your friends sometimes shy away, and your world becomes smaller and smaller. And it's not everyone else's fault. Sometimes it's partly that, because people don't know how to speak to you, how to treat you. You're not part of their scene anymore. For example, you know, in my working life, before I lost my job at that stage, I thought I had lots of friends. You know, I was on work nights out. I thought I had lots of friends. When I lost my job because I was ill, I found out the hard way those friends were acquaintances, and they all disappeared. And I actually was even subjected to a couple of them crossing a road when they saw me coming, because I was in a wheelchair at the time. And I think at that stage they just didn't know what to say, and they felt by avoiding me it was actually easier. So my world became a lot smaller and smaller. And, you know, as I was more disabled at that stage too, you know, I really was more restricted perhaps in what I could do. So I mean, I played my part also in you know, my world being small. But I remember a real incident of thinking, and it might sound morbid, but it was actually a real awakener for me, of thinking about my funeral, of thinking about the end of my life, and thinking, and it was actually because it was my father, it was the anniversary of my father's death, and I'd remembered that day about when my father died, who was only 59 when he died, bless him. There was no seats left in the church. The church was packed. And I was absolutely overwhelmed that day by this huge support that all came out. All this world of people that my father had played a part of in their life. You know, and I'd always known my father was a wonderful man, but to me, he was my father, and that's the bit I knew. And my goodness, I learned so much about him that day, that every seat in the church was filled. And I remember it crossing my mind at that stage of my life, as I'm back in 2001, 2002, that actually I would be lucky if I filled one row, if I died at that time. Because my world had become so small. And I think that's the bit you need to be careful for, because when you are in this place where you're maybe not particularly outgoing, or there's maybe you've not naturally been quite a sociable person, or you've maybe had some illness or life curveballs thrown at you, or bereavements, and have been put into this place of feeling quite alone or lonely, very often we get caught up in it, and we play our part in restricting our world. You know, our worlds become smaller and smaller as we stay at home more, and live with less enthusiasm for life and do less out with. And, you know, maybe relationships, you know, we don't take the effort in the same way to really nurture and build relationships and do more of the things that bring us joy. So I think we need to be careful and just aware that, yes, obviously, you know, when we lose someone, as Floyd had lost Amber this week, you know, that wasn't his fault. It's none of his doing. It's not, you know, he has been thrown into loneliness through no fault of his own, just through love of Amber and missing her. But, you know, we have to be really careful now to really help him so that loneliness doesn't take hold big time. And actually, I might post under this video when I'm finished a really amazing little short video of my daughter brought her little pup Hallie at the weekend to try and cheer Floyd up. And I must show you this video of Hallie on a mission, trying to cheer a lonely boy up, because I say she really made a real effort. So I'll pop that, when this video is finished, I'll pop underneath and I'll put it there. So again, you know, it's about really recognizing that part you played. When I envisaged one row of people, if I was lucky at my funeral, that woke me up. That made me realize, wow, that is how small my world is. No wonder I feel alone. No wonder I feel lonely. But I also recognized at that stage that one of the big reasons I felt lonely was because I didn't know who I was anymore. I had completely lost touch with the true, authentic, core me, the spirit in me, the soul in me, the divine in me, that divine spark in me that had that passion for life, that enthusiasm for life and for living, that went out there and lived life fully and embraced it despite the difficulties I had. And it was a real turning point for me. November 2002 was a massive turning point for me in my life, when I really woke up to what was going on in my life and the unhappiness I had at that time, and how small my world was at the time, and how alone I was and unhappy I was. And as many of you know, there's one more incident I want to share, and then we're really going to look at the comments, and then I'm going to talk about that feeling of lonely, and we're going to talk about what you can do to really help. The other incident I want to share is, now again, I'm just kind of, as I'm talking to you, going through my own life, I'm kind of doing a backflip. So we've talked to you about that moment on the train, because these are things that stick out. And it's funny in life, the things we tend to remember in life are the ones that have the strongest, most powerful emotions and feelings attached. That's why, as women, we usually always remember the birth of our children, or we remember, the deaths of our loved ones, or we remember, that key birthday or that amazing holiday or romantic interlude or whatever. The things that have the most powerful emotions for us tend to be those things that our subconscious hangs on to, the ones with the powerful emotions. And again, there's three instances when this topic that's been given to me, loneliness, are standing out for me, is when I really felt that being alone or the loneliness. And as we've said, slight difference between the two. The third one, and again now at this stage, I had actually, I'm going to 2006, 2007. And I had really worked a huge amount on myself over the previous few years to really uncover who I actually was and what I needed to do in life to bring feelings of joy, to bring feelings of happiness, to allow me to be the unique, beautiful individual that I was born to be. And that involved for me leaving a very long-standing marriage. I left a marriage of 28 years and, broke up a family. We had 2 teenage children at that time and a big extended family. And for me to really be the true, real, authentic me and true to who I was, and to give myself at that time, my body, best chance of healing, of being able to fill my life with positive energy, of nourishing and feeding energy and activities, it became very clear to me I needed to leave that long-standing marriage and leave the big family home and leave everything that I knew with very little, with poor health, with very few friends around me, and teenage children that actually were on now into life and living their own lives. And I when I left, I lived with my mother for a little while, and I bought myself a little flat and started out in a flat, and with my one dog at that time, who was another golden retriever, funnily enough, a golden retriever cross-called lady. And she was very old, and when I started out in life again, there was me and my dog. And initially my daughter lived with me in the flat, and unfortunately, my daughter, well, at the time, she now lives very close to me, and I think many of you are aware of her popping in and out quite a bit here, and know we're extremely close, and lives quite near me. But at that stage, I was in my flat. I'd started out in life all over again, without, a real social network. All my friends had disappeared really when I'd been ill and unable to work anymore. At this stage, I was still unable to work, and again, it's my daughter was living with me. And anyway, the night she left to go down south for a job, the very morning my dog died. And I was literally, I'd gone from this buzzing family home with, kids in and out, with their friends in and out, sleeping over, with, pets, with, you name it, activity and loud music and all these things going on, to this little tiny little flat without a garden with my dog. And then my daughter moved down south in the morning. She'd got on a train to go down south in the morning for a job, which, was going to be a permanent move at that stage. And that evening, my dog collapsed and died. And I had never in my life felt so alone. Now, that probably was another massive pivotal point for me, because I think part of life is self-awareness. That change comes from self-awareness of where you are, of self-awareness of actually going, does this serve me well? Is this somewhere I want to be? Are these feelings I want to be feeling? Are these feelings I want to feed and keep going? Or do I need to do something different? Now, I'll be honest, I cried myself something rotten that day. And I went away for 2 or 3 days because I just had to get away from it all. But again, it was like, after that was really, I'd already really started working on me and connecting with the real me. I was partly there. And I actually found, once I got over that initial shock and the grief, that actually, whilst I was on my own and alone most of the time, I actually wasn't as lonely as I had been years before in a very busy household, or as I had been way back in the 90s in a very busy job and busy life surrounded by people. I actually came to realize that actually I didn't feel half as lonely on my own than I had done in the years gone by. And it was a real turning point for me. And I think, what I want to share from that, and I did actually go on, and bless her heart, I rescued another dog, as I always do. I always end up with animals in my life because, they're souls and spirits, and I have a real connection with them. But that was really, another pivotal moment for me of feeling so alone, never feeling so alone. But after that initial few days of the outpouring of grief and realization of where I was, of recognizing, actually, I don't feel so lonely these days. And the difference was because I'd begun to like the person I was alone with. I'd begun to like me. And I had, I now have very much learned to unconditionally love me. With all my foibles, with all my ups, my downs, it's loving arms around me. And I love my own company, never really feel alone. And again, alone to me now is a very positive vibe, because it's, I love my own space. I also love being with people. As you know, I'm a people person, a life person, an animal person, but I love my own space too. And again, there's that saying, you never feel alone. You never feel lonely when you love the person you're alone with. So really take on board that. Any comments? I'm going to look at the comments now. So any comments around just what I've shared so far? And I know it's really been just sharing some instance myself, but I think, it's good to do that, because I want you to know it's okay not to always be okay. I want you to know it's okay to admit if you feel alone or you feel lonely. I want you to know that you don't need to be staying there. You can turn it around. So I think by sharing my own vulnerability and my own evolving over the years into this hugely peace and content woman who never feels alone, because I actually, you know, I love who I'm with, which is me, but I actually feel a huge bigger presence in me with me all the time. You know, I have that real connection, not just with the divine spark in me, but with that larger presence, universe, God, spirit, higher self, divine angels, whatever you want to call it. I feel it. And therefore, I never, ever feel alone. Now, I'm going to put my glasses on, have a look at the comments, and then I'd really want to talk about that feeling of loneliness and how we can perhaps turn that around if you're in that place right now. Okay, so any comments so far, any questions, any things you want to share, just please share. Yeah, Teresa, nice to see you here. Yeah. Absolutely. It looks like you've been in the same position as me, where, you know, your friends, when you become ill, your friends disappear. You start recognizing, you learn who your dear friends are. And yeah, now I know who my true friends are and the good people I have in my life. And that is absolutely what that is about, you know, that it's about connecting with people that resonate with you, that people that care about you, just as you care about them, that people that bring that real positive energy into your life, that you share a real connection with, and who are there in your bad days as well as your good days. And, you know, those are the relationships we want to really nurture as we go through life. Yeah, Mary, true work friends become acquaintances. Yeah, I mean, that was mine. Now, it doesn't mean you're not maybe going to make a great friend through work for some of you. For me, it wasn't particularly my experience. And I found that, you know, in the hard way, I actually felt a bit like a kick in the teeth at the time, because I lost my job because of my health. I got a severe physical ill health issue. And, you know, I kind of felt with that, it took away, well, I suppose at that time, I kind of saw it as part of my identity. You know, I think we all do. You know, it's all too easy in life to see your work role as your identity, to see your colleagues, you know, as your friends, and actually it's not who you are at all. You know, all these roles that you play, the hats that you wear, they might be part of you, but, you know, you're not part of them. They're just part, you know, and I say the real you is that real beautiful soul and spirit in you, that divine spark in you, is passionate about life, that shines. And so again, and Mary, I shut people out now. Yeah, now that's the one thing that you need to be a little bit cautious of. And it's easy done, believe you me. Shutting people out of your life is very easy when you are feeling low. When you are feeling perhaps the world's against you, when you're feeling, you know, or maybe had experience of people disappearing out of your life, and people not really being around, and when you've maybe had some form of anxiety or physical or mental health issue or grieving in your family, anything that's made you perhaps come into your shell for a period of time, which again is absolutely natural to do. You know, we all at certain periods of time in our life, I think, need to retreat into our shells for a bit, need to sort of just shut off the world a little bit and create our own space. I know I've done it last week and this week. You know, I felt the real need to step out with just the busyness and just have more space for me last week, after sort of, you know, losing Amber, and again, some health issues and some treatments that I had to have. And so, you know, I've really done that, and that's okay. And I think, you know, what you have to be wary of is when you do kind of go into yourself a little bit, is that you don't stay there and keep it going, because that's when you restrict your world big time. And I say that's certainly what I did in years gone by. You know, I restricted my world big time, you know, and again, when you lose that trust, when you feel you have friends and they disappear or they avoid you or whatever, it's very hard to trust people and let them in. But you actually owe it to yourself to do that. But it's about connecting with the real people that resonate with you. And you need to be open to allow those relationships into your life, you know, because when you shut that off, it's a very negative energy. It's a very insular energy. You're kind of shutting yourself off into yourself, making your own world much smaller, more restrictive. And actually, there is a massive, big, beautiful world out there. There is beauty around us. There are some wonderful, wonderful people around. And it's about really spending time with people that connect, that you can connect with at a soul level, that resonate with you, that enjoy being with, that, you know, bring those feelings of passion and joy and happiness, and about you being you. You know, I think, you know, when one of the biggest things for me is around loneliness is you have to get to like and love the person you're alone with, which is you. Because when you do that, you'd never feel alone again. But when you are that real, this is me, this is who I am, and I am so proud to be me and show that. So, you know, you never put the mask on, you never sort of give the fake persona to the world. That's when that light shines from within you at its strongest. And that is when you attract the right people into your life. That is when you build nourishing, feeding relationships. That's when you go out and give your best to the world and find more of those things that nourish and feed you at a deep soul level. So, you know, for me, it's about really looking within. And when it comes to loneliness and feeling alone, we have to look at the part we've played. You know, it's, as we've said, you know, sometimes we can't stop. You know, we're all going to lose loved ones at times. We're all going to get that curveball at times. We're all going to be thrown into situations which will perhaps make us want to retreat for a while. Just like Floyd is kind of going through a while just now of being very quiet and on his own, and not a lot is consoling him. It's about, that's okay for that period when those emotions really need to be felt fully, so you can move through them to heal and move on. But it's not good when we keep it going. And I think that's why I say, you know, loneliness is a doing word. Feeling lonely is a feeling, and a feeling comes from a thought and an action, a doing. And if we want to keep doing lonely, you know, replaying the thoughts or the activities or the insular activities or the keeping ourselves to ourselves that bring those feelings of us being alone and lonely, then that's what we're going to get more of. And it can be, you know, it means taking big steps at times. It means really having to really look within yourself and go, actually, I am playing a part in this. You know, I know for me, and I mentioned this last week in the Live at 5, that for grieving, you know, I didn't grieve my father properly for about 15 years because I didn't allow myself to feel it properly, because I was so terrified of the actual real pain that I knew that was within me. So I kept myself busy and I kept doing everything else. And, you know, I was doing grief for 15 years, but on a scale that didn't actually release it to let me move on. And it was only when I really became self-aware of that and faced it and faced my pain and moved through it that I was able to heal from it and see my father through eyes of love, not through hurt and pain. It's the same with loneliness. You know, if it first part of it is you need to be aware. So you need to actually recognize and admit and accept and go, actually, I do feel lonely. I am being lonely. I feel alone in the world. But then it's about that. Am I happy being this person? Am I happy doing loneliness each day? Now, I know for me, I wasn't. It took me a while to see it. It took me a while to see what I was doing. But actually, it's not something that serves you well, and it brings really negative feelings. And I believe we all deserve more in life. That's not who we are. You know, a lonely person is not who you are. You know, that's not where you need to stay. It's where you are now, perhaps, and it's what you feel perhaps now. But you can't turn it around. And again, it's about looking within yourself and beginning to do more of the things that bring you joy, more of the things that bring you passion. Mix them with people that get you, that connect with you, that you can just be you and fully express you. And really, you know, what you give out in life, you get back tenfold. Give out feelings of loneliness or feeling alone or a bit of a barrier around you, not letting people in. And that's what you're going to get back. People not attempting to come in. They're going to feel that energy from you. And yeah, it is difficult, Mary, and I can see, saying it's true, but I panic if anyone wants to visit. And I totally understand that. I totally get that. And I think, it's about seeing, actually recognizing that sometimes we need to be brave. Sometimes we need to breathe. Sometimes we need to push ourselves out of our comfort zone a bit, and we need to let people in. And it's okay to acknowledge where we are, but it's also okay to acknowledge to yourself, this is not where I want to be. This isn't bringing feel-good feelings to me. So sometimes we have to be a bit braver and a bit bolder and fill our life. With connect, we need to start on ourselves and look on the inside of ourselves and really learn who we are as people. What is it? Who am I? Who am I, this unique person I was born to be on this earth? What am I here to do? Who am I? What lights my fire? What feels good for me at a deep soul level? What nourishes and feeds? What activities nourish and feed and light my soul and I'm passionate about, and go do more of them. Doing for the sake of doing doesn't necessarily help feelings of being alone or loneliness. That's just doing for the sake of doing. And it might not bring that real change and positive emotions you need. So you need to do more of the things that bring you joy, you feel passionate about, that really light your fire, that really nourish and feed you at a deep soul level. You really need to connect with who you are and get to know who you are, and accept and love and like yourself for being that person. Put loving arms around yourself. Treat yourself as your own best friend. Step up and see you deserve better than a life of feeling lonely or being alone, especially if that alone is a negative place for you. And, really it's about being honest and open with yourself and taking that ownership, saying, well, actually, if it's going to be, it's up to me. If I want to create change and I want to feel better about my life and I want to have nourishing relationships and I want to have loving relationships and I want to feel good about being me and I want to feel good about that time on my own and never feel lonely again, then it has to come from me, because putting the blocks up, and it's so easy done, especially when we've been hurt, especially when we've had maybe a kick in the teeth, and with relationships. And again, that's brought to mind an instant for me, when I was engaged to somebody before, when I was 20, 21, and I got the kick in the teeth. I got the reject as marriage plans started getting put in place. The gentleman in question changed his mind and rejected me. And at that stage, that was a huge blow of a wow. And I did exactly what you're talking about, Mary. I didn't trust. I put the block around myself and I went into self-protective mode because it hurt. What happened hurt. Just as losing loved ones hurts, just as losing, getting, disability or illness and losing job through that, it hurts. It makes you query who you truly are. The person you thought you were, you start thinking, actually, who am I? So, but just be aware, Mary, that, putting that boundary up, putting that back up, it's going to keep people at a distance. It's not going to let them in, and it's not going to expand your world, and it's not going to help feelings of loneliness or being alone. So it's partly about really getting to know who you are, learning to love and like yourself, do more of the things that bring you joy, that make you feel happy, really connecting and igniting the divine spark within you so that you go out to life with an enthusiasm and see life with preciousness and make the most of it. And when you do that, you will attract that smile back from a stranger. You will attract the right people into your life. My husband and I had a real incident on Sunday because sadly, not sadly, it's just the way it is for me just now. I've had to kind of start using a wheelchair again. After a few years of not doing it, I've had to start using it again for distances when we go out. And I had very negative emotions around it before, because I was very treated back in the sort of 1990s and 2000s to a lot of negativity, people speaking to who was pushing me, people that I thought were friends crossing roads and not coming and speaking to me because they didn't know what to say. And Sunday, my husband Peter and I decided to try and cheer Floyd up, who's very lonely at the moment, having lost Amber, and decided, you know, it was such a beautiful day that we would go down and have a long walk at Loch Leven. But the only way I could do it was going in a wheelchair. And it was such a wonderful, beautiful afternoon, because as we smiled and enjoyed the sun and the sea and the loch and the atmosphere, everybody smiled back. And again, it really made me home in on the different energy that I give off from where I used to be. You know, I used to be, back in, you know, the beginning, early 2000s, the lady that was taken out in the wheelchair for outings. I was a very different person then. You know, I didn't have this smile on my face with this deep inner peace and contentment and enormous knowledge that I can handle whatever life throws at me, and that I'm protected and that I'm never alone. Because A, I love the person I'm alone with, but B, I have a real connection with that bigger presence around me and within me at all times. And again, just popping over quickly to have a look. Sue, nice to see you here today. Oh, two Sues are both in today. That's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, the key is, you're absolutely right, Sue, it's not to get bored. And that's what I was saying, you know, when you get bored or you're not doing things that light your fire, that bring you passion, that bring you joy, or mixing with people you know you're enjoying being with, that get you, connect with you, that's when you can feel really alone or really lonely. And you have to get to know what it is for you that really brings the nourish and feel good feelings. You know, I adore writing. I absolutely am a writer, which is, you know, for me is not the easiest thing to do now because I have severe issues with my hands, and a lot of it is done by voice dictation now. It's about finding a way to do it for me, you know, but I am a writer. I adore loud music. I blast it around the house big time. I adore, you know, my kids and my grandkids being around. I adore, you know, being out with dogs and in nature. And it's about finding the way to still be able to do it when it comes difficult for us. And it is about recognizing that for boredom, you have to do boredom. You know, boredom's one of those doing words as well. You know, it's the activities and the thoughts of the doing, the boring activities that bring the boring feelings. So you have to do the things that actually make you feel good and bring you joy. Ken, brilliant. I'm glad you could make it. I say, yeah, I usually am in on a Monday, but it's a Tuesday. Maybe it's worked better for some of you. And Julie, well done. And Linda, great to see you here. And yeah, so again, just looking at that real loneliness. And I say it's a topic I was asked to talk about this week, and I've done it because I just don't think we talk about it enough. It's probably the thing that I would never have admitted when I was actually feeling really lonely and alone. It's not the thing I would share with people because I used to put the mask onto the world that I was always fine, you know. Whereas actually, it's okay. It is okay not to be okay all the time. It is okay to admit, actually, I'm feeling pretty lonely these days and alone. Because from that place of self-awareness, you can choose to do something about it. And sometimes, Mary, it means you have to be a wee bit brave and a wee bit push yourself out your comfort zone and just gradually push that barrier you've built around yourself just a little bit out and then crack it. You need to crack open that darkness to let the light in. You know, that's how we do it. We have to just crack it open. And if you can only crack it a little half inch, that's fine to start. But you need to, bit by bit, allow yourself to trust, allow yourself to connect, allow yourself to do more of the things that bring you joy, make you feel happy, and mix with the people that you really feel a real true connection with. And really get to know that divine spark in you. Really get to know who you are. What is it that you love to do that brings those real good feelings? And do more of the things that bring you good feelings and diminish the ones that don't. You know, we want to, there's that story, remember, I shared with you a while back about the good wolf and the bad wolf, and the Cherokee Indian that takes the boy up the hill and tells him the story that, you know, you're growing into a man now and I've noticed, you know, mixed behaviours about you, but it's okay. So I just want to share with you, you know, inside us all, there's two wolves, a good wolf and a bad wolf. The good wolf, that's the one that does the positive stuff, the kind, the caring, the patient, the, you know, the loving, the kind, one that looks after people, looks out for people, and is really good to himself. The bad wolf is the one that's negative, is the one that fights, is the one that has the, you know, blame or just isn't that nice a person to others. And the two wolves fight all the time. And we've all got them inside us. And the boy says, well, you know, if the two wolves are fighting all the time, how do we know which one wins? And he says, the one that wins is the one you feed the most. So you need to feed your good wolf and diminish, you know, starve the bad wolf. And it's the same when it comes to loneliness and boredom. You need to do more of the things. So feed the things that make you feel better, that you enjoy more, that make you feel happier, that make you feel more supported, that more, you know, that supported presence, and diminish the things that actually, you know, don't feed and nourish your soul, and that allow you to sort of fall into a bit of a boredom trap or a loneliness trap. You know, it's all too easy. I think, you know, our brains tend to work in cycles. You know, we have our thoughts and our beliefs and our thoughts, which feed into how we feel. So, you know, think happy thoughts, you're going to feel happier. Think thoughts of boredom, you're going to feel more bored. Think thoughts of loneliness, you're going to feel more lonely. When you've got those feelings and emotions, unfortunately, they impact on the actions you take. You know, if you're in a not great place or feeling very lonely or bored for yourself, you're less likely to take some real positive, inspiring action. You know, and that action brings you the results. You're going to be more of the same, sitting there feeling a bit unfulfilled and on your own. And then you'll have thoughts about that. So you need to interrupt the cycle. You need to recognize that wherever you are, you know, if you're in this place of feeling alone or lonely, if it's because you've just lost a loved one, if it's because there's some major incident or, you know, curveball going on in your life, no, it's normal. It is normal to feel you want to retreat into your shell for a while. And sometimes we need to, and we need to create space. And I say, I certainly have done it this last week, 2 weeks. I have not been as active, not been seeing as many clients, not been really sharing as much. I've needed that space. But you have to recognize that, you know, you don't drown by falling in water, you drown by staying there. So you have a choice whether to keep those feelings of loneliness or boredom going, or you have a choice whether to actually take that long, hard look at yourself and think, right, what can I do now to actually improve how I feel, so that actually I can look forward to my day, I can enjoy my life, despite any difficulties that may be around you or happening within your life at this time. And I think, you know, loneliness, it's hard. But I think you have to actually really acknowledge any part that you play yourself. Now, I know I did, and I am open my hands up to it. You know, the fact that I have had periods in my life in the past when I have felt very lonely and very alone, even when I was surrounded by lots of people and lots of activity. Partly, part of that a lot of it came from me, because I put a protective barrier around me, and I showed the world the bit I chose to show them because of fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of what people think or say, and fear of hurt, fear of feeling more hurt and more pain that I had felt at some intense moments in my life. So it was a bit of a protective mode. But the more you restrict your life and put up the barrier, the more you live your life within barriers and within restrictions. And that is just sadly the hard fact. Now, it's absolutely fine if that's what makes you happy and that's where you want to be. Do you know, we all hear stories about, you know, the hermit that went and lived in the cave and was absolutely happy and idyllic, and the people that disappear off into a forest for months and absolutely love it. No, so if you're one of those people, it's amazing. You know, that's absolutely great for you if you can honestly say, this is what lights my fire. This is who I am. This is what I need. But I would guarantee you that most of those people are very content with who they are and like and love the person they're being alone with, and have that real connection with that divine spark within them. And perhaps as well, also like myself, you know, that real connection with that bigger presence of feeling supported at all times and never feeling alone. So, you know, it really is about looking at yourself and thinking, am I happy with the person I'm being right now? Am I happy with where my life is right now? Now, some things are out with our control. You know, things do happen in life. We're not always in control of everything that happens to us, but we are in control of how we respond to it, how we deal with it, our attitude towards it. And again, loneliness and feeling alone is one of those things. You know, we have a choice how we respond to it. We keep doing the loneliness strategy, the loneliness cycle, the feeling alone, keeping ourselves restricted, keeping our barriers up, or we learn to like and love who we are and really get to know who we are, our higher selves, our true authentic selves at the core. Do more of the things that bring us joy, bring us happy. Go out and shine our light on the world and to the world, from within to others. And we will attract the right people to our life. I see that beautiful walk my husband and I had on Sunday around Loch Leven. I said we went around, me in a wheelchair, which had been, you know, years gone by, a very negative thing for me. Was actually, we had such an amazing experience of people smiling, laughing, talking. Even Floyd, bless his heart, during that period, was the most amazing boy. And yeah, just had such fun. And it was such a positive experience. And it really made me realize it was because of the energy we were giving off. The energy we were giving off was coming straight back. You do lonely, you'll tend to get that feeling of lonely, and you'll tend to struggle to attract those real things into your life, to take that one away, because you'll get more of the same. So, you know, you need to be the change you want to see. And sometimes that means being brave and being bold and being courageous and pushing yourself out your comfort zone and going into open that restrictive barrier you've got around yourself. Crack it open, let a bit of light in, and then be brave and go step by step, one step at a time, through the light. Through the light into that bigger, most wonderful, most precious world that is out there. You know, I kind of think it's a bit like filling your well. You have to fill yourself from the inside and then take that out to the world. And when you do that, it's amazing what comes back to you. It's amazing, the real feelings. And again, that real, know you're never alone. You know, no man is an island. You know, I honestly believe that. I believe we're soul and spirit. We're here in a physical body, but we're of soul and we're of spirit. And we're part of something much, much bigger. And allow yourself, you know, for me, I connect with that. I feel, you know, always connected with that. And that has been a real gift through all my learnings and all my experiences that has really come about for me. So I think fill your well. Do more of the things that bring you joy, make you happy. You know, if you do lonely, you're going to get more lonely. You're going to feel more lonely. You'll keep it going. And, you know, it stirred up those instances myself of feeling really lonely at various stages in my life and feeling alone, and really made me realize how actually I adore my own company now. But it is because I love who I am, fully accept who I am unconditionally, you know, and that's me on the bad days as well. If you'd actually witnessed me yesterday, you wouldn't have wanted me to be here on a live at 5. I'd spent a day in hospital and it hadn't gone very well and hadn't gone to plan. So yeah, but I still had my own loving arms around me, and I still very much loved who I was and was very supportive of myself and felt very supported. So doing word, loneliness, yeah, hard. Can be hard. I think we all go through it. It's okay to admit that's where you are. You don't drown by staying there. It's not about staying there. You know, stay there, and it's choice. We have to turn that around, but you can. And yeah, I think, you know, this will probably lead to some form of blog from me. Normally when I start doing these conversations and my thoughts kind of go here and there, it leads me to a bit of, you know, it's like I cook it overnight. You know, tonight I'm sure as I'm in my bed, you know, what we've been talking about today will be cooking, and there will be a blog on the back of this probably with some more, you know, practical tips. Does any of you want to share your thought, any practical tips that might help anybody that's watching this that actually is in a place just now where they feel very alone in life and unsupported, or very lonely? So we're looking at not being alone in a positive way when you actually enjoy it, but for anybody who just feels a bit alone, unsupported, misunderstood, or whatever, and are very lonely. Any practical tips from any of you who've had experience of it, pop them in the comments below and let us know, because, you know, we can help each other on this one. I say it this week and last week, very first-hand experience of a very lonely, beautiful Floyd, my Gordon setter, whose best friend and partner in crime sadly lost her life. And, we are feeling very lonely in a way, as in the house is quiet and there's a big hole in our heart for her. But we are remembering her very much with love and very blessed to have had her. Whereas Floyd is still very much lost his real best friend, and we need to hold a space to let him go through it. And but it's about making sure he doesn't stay there, and we help hold the space so he can feel his emotions, to move through it, to heal it, so he too can remember her through eyes of love. Right, I'm going to put my glasses on. Mary, it's okay, missed a bit. You can catch the replay. It's good to have you back. Oh, Mary, fantastic. You're saying, I'm trying. I went out today, and you've got a big smiley face. And that is it. And Mary, the more you try, the more you do, the more you take the steps, no matter how small they may be, the easier it will become. We learn by doing. There is no other way. If you want to do happy, you have to be happy. You have to do the happy. If you want to sort of have a more enriched, a fuller life, if you want to have a fuller circle of friends, if you want to have a fuller circle of passions and hobbies and all those things, you have to do them. So yeah, and treat yourself with that amazing pat on the back. Put loving arms around you and say, I'm proud of me because I went out today and I managed to go out today. I have taken my steps to live a happier, more enriched and fulfilling life, and to move away from anxiety and loneliness, and to move into, as I do so, the stronger version of me, this real, happier, more content, because you're going to expand your world and absorb the good. And when you do it, Mary, one tip, do it with a smile on your face. Even if you're feeling a bit stressed or anxious and a little bit panic is beginning to form, put that smile on. Because you cannot possibly feel the same when you actually put that smile on your face. I actually once had a client that I made take a pen or pencil and I made them put it in their mouth because I wanted them to feel what I felt like to smile, because they just hadn't done it for such a long time. And it immediately, had them laughing after that. And that released some serotonin to the brain, and that triggered a bit of a conversation, a bit of feel-good, positive vibes that afternoon. So it really worked. So yeah, Mary, so just keep it going one step at a time. Do it with a smile on your face. Expand your world step by step. You only ever have to cope with the moment you're in, but it's up to you how restrictive you keep your world. You want to expand it, you want to feel less lonely, you have to do more, you have to mix more, you have to be more, you have to do less loneliness. So step by step, and be proud. Yeah, and you're smiling. Yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled you're smiling. And again, yeah, and I think take Sue's comment on board as well. The key is not to get bored, and I think when you're bored, that's a very draining energy, being bored and fed up. And you need to just recognize that boredom isn't a nourishing activity. And you need to sometimes just take that breath and say, okay, even if sometimes if you don't feel it, because I know some days it's quite hard to maybe motivate, but you need to actually recognize that actually, no, this feeling of boredom isn't good, or this feeling of loneliness doesn't serve me well. So I'm going to make that effort, and I'm going to get my shoes and coat on, and I'm going to go out that door, or I'm going to pick up the phone to a friend, or I'm going to go and visit family. I'm going to go and do these things, and I'm going to break the cycle of loneliness and boredom. Yeah. And yeah, it's just been lovely. And again, maybe just be aware of shutting people out. And I get why it happens. I've been guilty of it years in the past too, why we shut people out. It's because we don't want to feel the hurt, especially if we've been hurt before. But shutting people out keeps people out. And our lives feel more enriched when we actually open up that door and connect with the real people that really get who we are, that we can connect with, that we can share, that we can love, and that we can really be ourselves with, and really just allow ourselves to be ourselves. Jen, welcome from America. We've got Jennifer Jo Ann Williams in tonight, which is fantastic because she is from Los Angeles. And I am hoping she's coming to visit me in March. This lady and I connected on Facebook when I was over in Los Angeles last year having surgery, and I'm hoping she's going to come over and stay with me for a few days at least next year. And Mary, when I worked, I enjoyed my own time, but now I'm my own with too much time to think and worry. Now you've hit it on the head. When you worked, you enjoyed your own time. That's probably because you were quite happy doing what you were doing and doing pleasurable activities and feeling quite good about it and feeling good about yourself. Now you're on your own, too much time to think and worry. And that is exactly what happens, you know, when we are on our own. And I certainly, you know, when I started out in life again all by myself after having a very busy family life and suddenly was in my little flat and my daughter moved down south and my dog died on me and I was on my own. I had too much time to think and worry. I really did. And then, yeah, for me, you know, it meant I had to get out there and connect with nature, and disappeared off for a few days and came back with fresh, nourished energy, because I fortunately over the years have very much worked out what nourishes and feeds me, and connecting with nature and the beauty around us, and loud music. I have to admit, loud music and writing really does feed me. So I think too much time to think and worry. So you need to use that time. Recognize you have the time. You just have to start using it more proactively and productively to do things that bring you joy, that fire your passion, that light that divine spark in you, that animate you, that get you getting out of your bed with an enthusiasm for living. Use the time. Use the time to be that change you want to see in your world. And who else have we got in? Any more comments? Read, I'm checking the time. As you know, my husband is due in very shortly, and I usually call a halt so that I can go and spend time with my gorgeous man. Okay, Denai, Ruan, Teresa, Aisha, Leslie, Linda, Rai, brilliant. Thank you for joining us, Rai. Who else have we got in here as well? Mary, Heather. Yeah, oh, Heather, great to see you here. I hope you're doing okay. And thank you so much for the private messages you sent me the other day. It was very, very appreciated. And we've got Kaylin and we've got Ken. And, you know, one of the wonderful things that I love about this page is that there's people from all over the world here. And this is a place where everyone is welcome. You know, it doesn't matter the color of your skin, the religion, where you live, any of those things. We're all humans and we're all connected and we're all part of something much bigger. And I just absolutely adore trying to build the space. And, you know, it'd be really good if you can help me do that by letting people know that are maybe in your friends or in your network that, you know, this page does exist, that we do have affirmations every day. There is sort of live at 5 with your chance for free life coaching or mentoring by giving me the topics you want me to talk on. By connecting, you can reach out to me by private message. I'm always here. And again, you know, really by, if I'm talking about a topic on a live at 5 and you know somebody that it might really be beneficial to, please share it with them. Or send them to my Facebook page or my YouTube channel so they can watch it in their own time. Now, I'm going to go, and I'm just going to quickly have a look. Aisha, yeah, thank you. I've got a hands up from you. Lovely to see you here. I'm going to go, and if anything that I have said tonight has resonated with you in some way, then I'm a happy lady. And I think, you know, by being here, by sharing my own experiences, by owning my own story, and, you know, I am not embarrassed, ashamed of any of my story of my life. I completely and utterly own it, for it has brought me to where I am. It's brought me to where I am today with this intense contentment and peace and strength and courage. And I think my daughter described it. We were talking the other day, and we were sort of thinking about things, and I think, you know, I've got like the peace and contentment of a Buddha, and the wisdom of a guru, and the mental resilience and strength and courage of a warrior. And that's kind of how I feel, but it's, you know, that's taken me my life to get to where I am. So by sharing my incidents, I hope it allows you to know that actually it's part of life and it's okay. And sometimes we have these moments of difficulties and challenges, these periods that are not so great for us, but we get through them. But we get through them in the most effective way by acknowledging an awareness of them, by allowing ourselves to feel what we need to feel at the time. So whatever strong emotions are happening on the back of any incident in our life, event in our life, allow yourself to feel it. Don't shy away from it. Allow yourself to feel your grief, your pain, your hurt, that loneliness, whatever. But recognizing and being self-aware that to keep those feelings going indefinitely maybe don't serve you well. And that there does come a time you need to feel them, to heal them, to move on. And moving on sometimes needs you to be a little bit braver, a little bit more courageous, and really recognize and be honest and open with yourself about the part you may be playing in keeping yourself in a place which is no longer serving you well. Anyway, any tips, re-loneliness you want to share, add them in. This video will stay on my Facebook page. It will go to my YouTube channel. Please fill them in. If there's anything that you can share with anyone else, please do so. And yeah, thanks for being here. Be you, be happy, and yeah, fill your life more with the things that bring you joy, make you feel happy. Mix with the people you love to be with, that nourish and feed you at a deep soul level, that get you, that connect with you, that really can understand you, that allow yourself to be who you are always, be true to you. And again, really learn to like and love you, get to know who you are, and learn to love yourself unconditionally. Because when you like and love the person you're alone with, you never need to feel lonely ever again. Hope this has helped. I am going to go now, and I can hear my husband arriving down the drive. So, and I'm also going to check on Floyd and give him a massive lot of love from all of you, because I know he's. I know all of you have really felt for him this week, and really felt for us and for Amber, and I want to thank you for that. So take care. I'm going to be back in the morning with an affirmation to get you started for a great day. And I say I will, when I get a moment, I'm going to pop the little video I mentioned about my daughter's little puppy Hallie on a mission, trying to cheer the lonely Floyd up a little bit so that he doesn't feel so alone in life just now. Take care. Thanks for being here, and speak to you soon.